Hi and welcome to today's video. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're one of my returning subscribers. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys about my hysterectomy slash my uterine cancer experience. I did promise that I would record this video for you guys to help a lot of people out, because what I was going through, I really didn't need to be going through it. So I apologize if you guys hear anything in the background. It's my puppy. We just adopted a puppy a week and a half ago, and we're kind of like, he's still getting acclimated. He's still getting like used to the house and stuff like that. But he's so clingy with me. Like, that's why I didn't post a video on Thursday, because like he was so clingy with me and I couldn't find like time, and he wouldn't let me just sit down. And like we even tried putting him in my daughter's room, and he was just not having it. So we're kind of like trying to be understanding that he's like going through a transition right now. So I apologize for not posting, but I'm back and I will be back on schedule. Alrighty, so I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of like facts about me and my, my cycle and things like that. Obviously, that's one of the major players in dealing with, uterine cancer. Alrighty, so if you get uncomfortable talking about cycles, if you get uncomfortable talking about bleeding and things like that, and medical issues or feminine issues, then you might want to click off this video. You're probably not going to enjoy it. So I got my cycle when I was 9 years old, 2 weeks before my 10th birthday. So keep that in mind. I got my cycle pretty young. Like, when I had my daughter, I prayed so much for her not to get her cycle while she was like that young. She got it pretty young, but it wasn't 9, so I was happy about that. So I got my cycle super young. And when you look up some of the major contributing factors to uterine cancer, one of them, the main ones, getting your cycle, starting your cycle at a very young age. That was one of them. 2, being overweight. I am overweight, and I did say in my other videos before, being on the medication that I'm on for my mental health, and my weight, like, it's been going up and down since I got on the meds about 10 years ago. And so that, I don't think that played a factor in my fertility and things like that, but it could have. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Alrighty, so before I had my daughter, my cycles came like clockwork. They were on time every month, same time, just on time, same time, every single month, didn't skip a beat. That's how I knew I was pregnant, because I know my cycle was not, I knew my cycle would be, sometimes it's a couple of days off, but I knew, I was just like, I knew that I was pregnant. Sometimes a lot of women say you feel it from the beginning. Like, I just knew I was already. So I ended up having my daughter. I got pregnant at the age of 20, and I had my daughter, I actually had her on my due date, which was August 26, 2004. So I had her full term. I did have some complications when I was having her, and I was on active duty in the Marines at the time. So this is another reason why I wouldn't really recommend starting a family if you're on active duty, especially in the Marines or the Navy. Or the Army. It's just too demanding. The job's just too demanding. Anyways, so I had her. I was pretty healthy when I had her. I was a U.S. Marine, like Before I had her, I was working out all the time. You know, I was in the best shape of my life. So I think that's another reason why my cycles were so normal. But after I had my daughter, full term, not a lot of complications. When I was pregnant, some things did physically happen to me, but I don't think these things played a factor into getting, you know, into cancer. I don't necessarily think these things played a part in the uterine cancer, but I'm gonna mention it anyways. When I was having my daughter, when I was pregnant, my pelvic bone popped out of place. I was super tiny, you guys. I was a size 4 when I got pregnant with my daughter. Like, I was, like I said, best shape of my life. I was a young Marine, no cares in the world, no family, nothing. All I had to do was, you know, literally all we did was shop, eat, and drink. That's it. That's all we did as young Marines who didn't have any kids. So after I had my daughter, my cycles started tripping out. It would go for some months, come back for some months, and mind you, I was still in the Marines. I was still in active duty, so I was physically active. My body, after I had my daughter, my body definitely didn't go back to running my run times, and physically my body never went back to the capacity that it was before. Literally, I was in the best shape of my life. I had a great run time. I was doing really, really good. Like, childbirth really takes a toll on your body, man. And I was still an active duty Marine, and literally, no matter how hard I pushed myself, I still could not ever physically get back to that young Marine who like could breathe while they were running. Like, I literally never ever was able to get back in shape to that. So I think there are other, obviously, reasons why these kinds of things happen. The reason why I put off recording this video, to be honest with you guys, is because I wanted to come on here and be genuine with you guys, and I don't want to tell any lies. No matter how big. I had to take a hit of the vape, you guys. Like, 1, my puppy's barking, so I had to stop. 2, trying to be brutally honest here. Okay, so as I mentioned before, YouTube is different for me because this is bearing me, my entire my feelings, my life, to the public. This here is a no judgment zone, first and foremost. We all make mistakes when we are young. We all have things in our past that we would go back and change. And unfortunately for me, I have a lot of those. As I mentioned before, I do suffer from bipolar disorder and some other mental health issues. So a lot of that stuff kind of like, I do a lot of impulsive things. I make a lot of impulsive decisions at times. A lot, actually, where I don't think about the consequences. I am working on that, but it's just been a part of my character for so long. I'm just a very impulsive person. This wasn't an impulsive decision, but one thing that I think contributed to my body getting, you know, to the point where it could develop cancer was after I had my daughter. She was 3 years old, and her dad and I tried to work it out for a little bit. He's active duty in the Navy, and like, seriously, military guys, I just can't. I can't. I love them, but I just can't with them. Like, my daughter's dad ruined it for me. So we had tried to work it out, and after it was just evident that after it was evident that that was just not gonna work out, I was like, okay, you know, it's time to move on. So I got into a relationship with somebody. Oh my gosh, it was such a roller coaster. It was such like it was a hot effing mess is what it was, okay? Ended up falling for somebody. And long story short, everything just happened so fast, and he was a lot older than me. At this time, my daughter was about to be 4. So it was like the end of 2008. Actually, she had just... So at the end of the year 2007, I found out I was pregnant by this person that I was seeing. And it was just a mess. Like, I'm trying not to draw this out, but I'm like trying to explain it to you guys so you can understand where I'm coming from. I am not making any excuses. I'm not here for anybody to judge me. Don't think that you can say anything in the comments that I haven't already thought about myself. This is the worst decision that I've ever made. I ended up getting pregnant in 2007 at the end of the year. My daughter was almost 4. Her dad was just about to go to Afghanistan. He was already in Iraq when she was born. And he's always been a great dad. So like none of my decisions that I've made over the years with my daughter has been too hard, because I've always had him there as support and, you know, as help. Not really physically, but mentally, if I need something, if I'm stumped or anything, he's always there. But what happened was, long story short, this person manipulated me into terminating the pregnancy. And honestly, you guys, this is why I didn't record this video. This is something that I have been battling with for a while now. This is one of the reasons why I literally just went down a deep hole, and just like I went into a really bad place after this. But it does relate to the cancer issue, and this is what I'm going to go back to. Just don't, any hate comments or any negative comments will be blocked. I'm bearing myself to you guys, telling you my story, and unfortunately that decision was a part of my story, and I pay for it every day. Mentally, literally, I pay for it every day. I think about it every single day. I don't even want to think about that, because I don't want to trigger anybody else who has went through the same thing I have. So my apologies. Let's get back to what I was saying. So I ended up, after that, what happened, I was, I think, 22 or 23 when I had that procedure done. So at the time, you guys, this man was such a piece of crap. So I went and I got the procedure done in person, and I had a follow-up appointment. So at the time, I had just moved back to California from Maryland, and like I didn't have a car anymore, and he was supposed to take me to my follow-up appointment, and never, I'm calling him, nowhere to be found. I'm like going crazy, and legit, you guys, I started bleeding really, really, really bad. It was so painful. And because I never went to my follow-up appointment, I honestly don't know what happened to my body. Like, and at the time I was young, I was just like, now, the person I am now, I would never, ever do something like that. I would always follow up. I will always make sure I take care of what I have to take care of medically. Obviously, because of what I went through with this situation. So, you guys, after that, that's when, and don't judge, but a lot of times I'll say, oh, this is God repaying me for what I've done. you know, my body started going through all kinds of stuff. My fertility definitely was whack. It was all out of whack. I tried several times, you know, when I was married, and when you know, I've tried to have children ever since then. Has not happened. Of course, I beat myself up and I blame myself for that, but at least I got to have my daughter. So, okay, so I think that missing that appointment, that follow-up appointment after that procedure, was a major mistake that I made as a young woman. This is why it's so very important. You know, they'll throw words out there at you. They'll say things like, you have PCOS, you have endometriosis, and they'll tell you these things casually, and sometimes it won't come with an explanation or a solution. A lot of times as women, we hear those things and they expect us to go on about our merry way and figure it out. Like, you know, we're supposed to know what to do. No. One thing you guys have to learn, and this is something I wish I would have learned when I was younger, but like I said, I was young and stupid and not thinking clearly about my health at all, to be honest with you. So always ask questions. Every single time that you're confused about something medically, ask a question about it. There were times, after the procedure, I started getting super heavy cycles that would last weeks. And of course, losing all that blood made my body super weak. I was a full-time student at the time. I was working full-time, and my daughter was little. She was like 4 years. My memory card was full, so once again, I had to go in, delete a bunch of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, back to the story. I was a young mother, full-time property management. I was also in the California Army National Guard after I left the Marines, so I was still in the military as a guard member at the time. So like, I had a lot going on. I couldn't afford to be sick all the time. I couldn't afford to be weak. However, oh my gosh, you guys, I went for a long time, years of just saying, I would just tell them, okay, you know, my cycles are heavy and they're super long. Oh, well, you have PCOS. Okay. You know, my next question should have been, what can I do to manage it? What can I do to alleviate these symptoms? You know, this pain was unbearable. These cramps were so bad. Like, sometimes it legit felt like my insides were falling out, you guys. It was just horrible. And no matter how many times I went to the doctor, they're like, oh, you just have heavy periods. You just this. It was always some different type of excuse. And so I was just like, I guess I just have heavy periods. And I guess it started to become months of constant bleeding. Sometimes heavy, sometimes in between, sometimes just spotting, but most of the time heavy bleeding. I mean, to the point where my back, my back, my feet, my legs, everything would hurt. Like, I legit, it was really hard to push through and try to work when I was feeling like that, but I had to. And legit, I would feel so dizzy. This is like, you know, I was working at Sephora, and then I worked in retail and management. I would just feel so weak, and I legit wish that I had the mindset I have now, because then I would have been researching, okay, what vitamins do I need to take for these deficiencies? Or, you know, what kind of teas do I need to drink? What kind of things will help regulate my hormones? what kinds of things that will help with my cramps. Like, I should have been doing all that stuff, and I wasn't at the time. I just wasn't caring enough. And this is why I wanted to tell this story. The reason why I'm telling the story is because I sat on these issues for too long. It is more than okay to get a second opinion. More than okay. It is your right. It is your body. If you're not happy with what you're being told, or if you feel like your doctor has not given you the correct guidance for your diagnosis, or doesn't have much information about your diagnosis, then you probably should. Then I would say it's a good idea to get a second opinion. That's more than okay. It's your body. And let me explain, you guys, as women, I feel like too much is put on us to bear. Literally, because it's like certain things that women go through, and they're like, oh, it's just, oh, you're just complaining because you have a cycle. No, I'm complaining because I'm bleeding for months. I have no energy, and I have to get up, force myself to be a full-time student, force myself to be a full-time employee, a full-time mother, because motherhood does not stop. Okay, that's constant. That's all the time. That's the one thing, at least when I clocked out of work, I was gone. When I logged out of my school, account, I was done for the night. But my daughter had asthma when she was younger. She had health issues, and so I sometimes would be in the hospital with her all night long. And as I mentioned, her dad was gone a lot. When he was there, he would be there physically. I could call him up and tell him to meet me in the emergency room. He would be there. He worked at the hospital most of the time anyway, so a lot of times he'd already be there. But what I'm saying is, my life was a little too busy to be accommodating physical pain and mental pain as well. And I say mental because I mean, what it starts doing to you, it really legit, not having energy, obviously you're starting to feel depressed. Then I don't know about, and I'm sure there's other women who probably can relate, but when it was that time of the month, I would be so disgusted with myself. You guys, I know it's natural. I know that it's just a part of being a woman, but I absolutely detested that time of the month. I hated it. And the more and more that I bled, and the more pain that I felt from just bleeding all the time, you guys, it got to the point where this is right when I found out it was actual cancer, and this was, I'll explain that. But for years, it was just bleeding all the time. You guys, don't sit on these issues. When any young lady, anyone comes to me now, I tell them, go get it checked out. No matter what it is, go get it checked out. Like, you need a proper diagnosis from a doctor. You don't go on Google and start Googling your symptoms, and then you'll think you got all kinds of crazy stuff. You want a proper diagnosis, and you want to know what's going on with you. Us as women, I feel like too many issues just get walked over. Like, I feel like, oh, you have endometriosis. Okay, well, the constant pain that I'm in, and the physical and mental pain that I'm constantly in, how do I manage this? Oh, you have PCOS. Well, how do I manage it? What can I do to make my life better, and while still living with this issue? And I feel as women, we don't ask enough questions, and it's okay to do that, especially with your gynecologist. I'm gonna do a self-care video in a few, kind of like a grown-up, like really taking care of yourself video, so I'll talk about that later. But legit, you guys, don't sit on these issues. I'm gonna sound like I'm saying the same thing over and over, but that's what I did. So for years, back and forth, legit years. It wasn't, I was losing so much strength. And just to let you guys know, I know this plays a part as well. I did no drugs whatsoever, none whatsoever. Up until 2018, that's when I started trying cannabis, because I heard so many good things about it, you know, about it helping with my mental health, about the body pain, which you guys, 100% helps with cancer symptoms, okay? And I'm gonna get into the symptoms I had personally in a minute. But just to let you guys know, I was drug free. I was in the military, like I said, after I got out of active duty. I was also in the National Guard. I legit, you guys, I didn't play around with that kind of stuff. Didn't care about it. My future, my career was more important to me, you know? So, just to let you guys know, I was drug free for a very, very long time. Didn't put that stuff in my body whatsoever. Started using cannabis in 2018. I also started smoking and vaping at that time for my stress. And as we all know, nicotine is like the major stress relieving drug, really. But, well, so it wasn't until, you guys, it wasn't until I got desperate and was like, there is no help for me. Like, I legit was desperate, and that's why I started using cannabis to cope with the physical pain. It does help, yes, and it does help with the mental issues as well. But by that time, to be honest with you, I think I had already, whatever the issue was, had already been there. But I'm not a doctor, I don't know. So, just to rewind a little bit, when I realized, okay, there were plenty of times when I was like, I just can't take this anymore. And I'll go to the doctor and it'll be while it wasn't flared up. Now, don't do this, you guys. This is what I did. A lot of times, I would make an appointment when I'm like going through it, I'm bleeding, I'm just miserable, and then my appointment comes and it clears up for like 2 days. Legit, this is what would happen. This is how this would happen. I was never ever aware of when I would start bleeding. I was never aware of when I would stop and how much it would be. So every day was a gamble. Literally every day was like throwing dice and seeing what we end up with today. What kind of problems is today gonna bring? So I pretty much, I started getting care with the VA in 2013, 10 years ago, or 12. And so then I started letting them know my issues. They were telling me the same thing that the civilian doctors were telling me. Oh, it's PCOS. It's this, it's that. It's endometriosis. It's adenomyosis. Different things they were telling me. Okay, so at this point, this was in 2020, where I finally, you guys, all those years of those issues. Mind you, my daughter was born in 2004, and it's just gotten worse ever since then. So, and now this is 2020 that I actually told my doctors, the gynecologist at the VA, you know, like, okay, something's going on. I am fed up. Like, I should have been fed up a long time ago. The way my body was feeling physically, I'm a shopper. I like to, when I lived in California, my friends lived there. We would go out on shopping trips all day long, sometimes all night long. We would be gone for hours. Then a lot of times we would go to Vegas. I went to Vegas every month for 2 years, legit, because I lived in San Diego and it was right there. And I like to gamble, so, which kind of is not a good thing if you have bipolar disorder. Don't do it. What I'm really getting at is that this really put a damper in my life, my work life, my personal life, my life with my daughter, we like to get up and do things. We like to randomly just get up, and like I said before, I'm very, very spontaneous. I'm very like, oh, let's just get up and do this. And I couldn't do that when I was going through this. So I legit was just like fed up of it. And I was telling my doctor at the VA, the gynecologist, I was like, look, I am so fed up of this. Like, it's been going on for blah, blah, blah. And finally, she did some testing, which testing had been done before. Like, they legit went into my, they get the ultrasounds and everything, where they went in and they were like, oh, you still have eggs and you're still good. And I thought I couldn't have kids anymore. But you guys, it just legit, I went through so much. But this time, the doctor, I guess it was just the right time. The doctor was like, okay, a lot of times when you're bleeding all the time, it can cause cancer. A lot of times that, you know, your body's legit, this is abnormal bleeding, this is not normal, these things can form. So she did a biopsy, and that's when you know, I started getting serious, and I was like, okay. At first I was like, no, I could never have cancer. You know, it can't, no, it just can't be that. Then I went through the, oh my gosh, it probably is this, because I've waited so long and I've sat on this for so freaking long. And then I went through the, oh my gosh, what the hell am I going to do if it is this? Because I have a child to live for, and like, I'm way too young to, like, I have my whole life ahead of me still. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just was scary. It just was a scary moment for me. So when she did the test, she let me know, when she called me back with the results, call me back and let me know that they did detect something that looked like cancer. And also she diagnosed me with adenomyosis. I'm going to put a description of it on the screen, and I'm going to read off a little bit on it, but it's something that I had never heard of before, which, like I said, is another reason why it's so very important to really take care of our reproductive health, because it's good to know these things, because there are so many things that exist that we don't know about, and we really need to educate ourselves as well. Adenomyosis occurs when the tissue that normally lines the uterus, the endometrial tissue, grows into the muscular wall of the uterus. That's important. The displaced tissue continues to act normally, thickening, breaking down, and bleeding during each menstrual cycle. Here's another excerpt I found. Though adenomyosis is considered a benign, not life-threatening condition, the frequent pain and heavy bleeding associated with it can have a negative impact on a woman's quality of life. That statement right there, quality of life. You physically will not be able to do the work that you're supposed to do after. And guess what? It will take a major toll on your life. And when I say a major toll, I mean it's gonna put a freaking wrench in it and just screw up the best years of your life, okay? Ladies, don't waste these years because you don't want to go to the doctor. Okay? I wasted too many good years. Let me tell you guys, the most, besides the fact that the pain was just unbearable and it was just constant, like I said, you know, I got painkillers, and then, like I said, I started using cannabis, which helped a whole lot with the pain. The last, right around 2020, like I would say the middle of that year, I started really feeling weak every single time I went out. And I would push myself to still go out, because even though I was bleeding all the time, or days where I didn't bleed as much, and I would be like, okay, I can go out today. And somehow it would just, I was always tired. So this is how I kind of can tell you guys where I can tell the cancer. Everyone's body is different, so it affects everyone differently. I did notice in 2020, my hair started thinning really bad. Really bad. And this is when I was going through a lot of the months. The months just kept piling up. The months just kept getting more and more. The stretch of time that I would be bleeding would be stretching. It would be like, now it's over up to 2 months. It got to one point I was there was 6 months straight, you guys. It just puts a damper on everything. You would have to cancel plans, you guys. And what's worse, a lot of times you don't want to be honest with your partner about this, because it, you know, a lot of times they may think you're making excuses. They may think that you're just making shit up. I don't know. But it sucks, okay? Because you can't like just blurt that out to everybody. So like only people who know you at an intimate level will know you're having those issues, and know, you know, that you can't do certain things. You guys, I legit, let's just take a moment, right? I know a lot of older people watch my channel anyways, so not too many young people on here. But you guys, I legit had to pass up on this super fine. You guys, this guy, he was fine. I mean, like, if you hold his picture up in a room of like 10 different women of all ages, they'll all say he's fine. That's how good he looks, okay? I had to pass up on that opportunity of that because I couldn't be honest. I couldn't be like, well, you know, I'm going through this again. And, you know, I just couldn't be honest about the fact, even though we were friends and we know each other, but it's like still something that's really personal, and something that sometimes it doesn't even sound believable. Like, oh, I've been bleeding for months. They're like, people are like, yeah, right. So like, legit, you guys, I had to lie. I can't remember what I said, but that was the biggest L I took, okay? You guys, learn from my mistakes. Oh, I wish I could put his picture up on the screen, but you guys, I am pretty sure that me not taking care of my health made me miss out on the best lay of my life. Yeah, sorry, I had to go get a tissue. I was drooling. But anyways, enough about that. But yes, it will mess up your love life, your physical life, okay? Because the longer you sit on these things, the longer you don't know what's going on, and the longer your body is festering all these issues and creating more issues. So, back to what I was saying. When I started feeling different is when I was like, okay, something's up here. And then, of course, my grandmother, she was like, you know, my mom was like, oh, you know, uterine cancer runs in our family. And then I was like, well, ovarian cancer runs in our family, not uterine cancer. But still, it was scary. Like, but what happened? Okay. Legit, my hair started falling out. started feeling weak every single day, no matter what I did. That's when I knew something was up. And that's kind of around the time that they came back. So pretty much when I found that out, it was right around the time when my body started going through all these things. So I knew something was definitely wrong. They called me back and they said they detected something. So because the VA doesn't specialize in, you know, that kind of care, they sent me out to outside care, which they were awesome. I feel like I got the best care. My doctors were amazing. The care I received, the service. So that's pretty much when I noticed that like my body was definitely going through something and something was definitely off, is when I started legit, like I would get so tired, you guys, and listen to what I'm telling you guys. I would get exhausted. And long story short, I don't want to make this video too long. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is in the description. Any questions you have, or leave it down below, I will answer it. But I'm just trying to give you guys like the gist of it, you know what I mean? So pretty much my options after I found out that I had cancer in my uterus was they gave me two options. If I wanted to, because I was still young, I think I was 37 at the time they found out, 39 now, almost 40. But they gave me two options. You can either use birth control and other hormonal medication to regulate my hormones and control the bleeding a little bit, if I still wanted to have kids. You know, because that's obviously a major issue. Like, I'm still within my childbearing years. So pretty much I was just so fed up with it, you guys, to be honest with you. I looked at my doctor and I was like, to be honest, I'm almost 40. I don't have a husband. I don't think I'm having kids, any more kids. However, there is a downside to that as well. I'll explain that. But it was legit like a moment of truth, moment for me, because had I been married or had I been in a serious relationship, where then the decision wouldn't have just affected me, it would have affected my, you know, significant other, other family members, you know, my child and things like that. But I didn't have anybody. Legit, I was just like, they gave me the options. They were like, either regulate your hormones, and I've tried that before, I didn't mention that, but I did try going on birth control before and regulating my hormones to regulate my cycles. What is my dog doing? He got stuck. Look what you're doing. He got stuck under the bed. Don't even think about it. This dog is gonna make me lose my freaking mind, okay? Trying so hard to be patient with him. Anyways, the other option that they gave me was to have a hysterectomy, take out my uterus, and then any threat of the cancer would be removed. What they also do is send your I guess send your body parts to be tested. So they took my uterus, sent it to be tested, and they could tell like where the cancer was. And remember when I was reading off the meaning of adenomyosis, it talked about the muscle walls. So funny thing is, it all came together afterwards. I'm sorry if I flash my hands with no, I'm gonna get my nails on, you guys. So what was actually kind of scary for me was that they didn't know before going in if they would have to remove my ovaries or not. And this was the scariest thing for me because, one, if they remove your ovaries, it will mess up your hormones and send you straight into early menopause. I honestly, I'm not mentally ready for that or physically ready for it. I am way too young to be. I'm just not ready for that right now. Give it another 10 years, okay? Let me go through my 40s strong and then, you know, talk about that in my 50s. But to be honest, I did not want, but the doctor told me, and they actually made me sign paperwork saying we don't know if it'll be a total hysterectomy until we go in. If this cancer has spread to your ovaries, then we will have to remove it. That was the deal. So this is another reason why I'm telling you guys to be cautious, because these are things that will affect your everyday life, okay? To be honest with you, if I had a husband, it would have been extremely, I probably wouldn't have even went through with the hysterectomy. I don't even know what I would have done. But one thing I will say I am thankful for, I was able to keep my ovaries, because when they did the testing, he said, this is exactly what my doctor said, that the cancer had not even attached to the muscle walls, which kind of makes sense going back to the adenomyosis. So I'm not a medical professional, but I know that's a good thing. And then after I did more research on the adenomyosis, the PCOS, all that stuff, it just made so much more sense what the doctor had explained to me. So pretty much I'm very, very thankful, you guys, that I got to keep my ovaries, because one, I am not ready for freaking menopause, okay? Anyone that knows me knows I'm already always hot. I'm just a naturally hot person. I hate the heat. Like, I couldn't imagine going through hot flashes. Like, no, I'm not ready for that, okay? When God has intended for me to go through menopause, I will go through it. But I was damn sure not going to push myself into it. So I'm happy I got to keep my ovaries. Secondly, because one of the main things that affected me during this journey was having to accept, I think that's a plane. One of the main things that affected me the most, well, almost, the most within this entire journey was the fear of not being able to produce a child again. I know I'm almost 40. I don't even know if I had any eggs left in there. You know, I don't know. They probably were over easy or scrambled. I don't know. I know that sounds gross. I'm sorry. But, like, I don't even know what was going on with those eggs in there, okay? It's been a long, long time since I have been with a child. So, but it was really scary to me because, like I said, I am almost 40, not married. What if I meet somebody? What if I meet someone and they're maybe a little bit younger than me? Maybe I meet somebody who's my age. There's a lot of guys who are in their 40s and don't have kids yet. What if I meet somebody my age who doesn't have any, or who has kids, which was my dream, to get married and have a nice, happy family? So, you know, like, that was also a dream of mine. I've always wanted a big family. I wanted like 5 kids. Obviously, that wasn't in the stars, but okay. The biggest thing was knowing that my fertility will fully be gone. I am thankful. I am going to freeze some of my eggs, and maybe if I meet somebody in the future, if they want children, or maybe if maybe if I don't meet somebody, maybe in the future I would get, just get a surrogate, just get a sperm donor. The possibilities are endless, but to have my DNA, would be a little different. I don't mind at all adopting or anything like that, but it was biggest hit. It was the biggest reality check for me. It was like all these thoughts started rushing, like, oh, maybe if I didn't have that procedure done years ago and I just went through with it, my body wouldn't be going through this. You know, this is karma, this is God, this is all these thoughts are going through my head. And I'm like, there's so many things that I could have done to prevent this. And the main thing that I could have done to prevent this is to be more diligent and to be more outspoken to my doctors and my gynecologists when I was younger. Legit, I feel like that's where I stumbled. And of course, not going to that follow-up appointment when I was younger after that procedure was a major. You guys, don't do stuff like that. Don't, if they tell you you need a follow-up for stitches that are already healed, still go. Still go. Do not take any chances when it comes to your health. Do not take any chances when it comes to your reproductive health, because listen, we as women, we were born to procreate. Like, this is gonna sound crazy, maybe. I don't know. But it's a part of you is being taken away that you were literally born with, born to do. And it's like the most important thing a woman will ever do to me, in my opinion, you know, is birth a child, carry a child, experience that. And I feel like that be taken away permanently. That was a hit. It was, because even in the back of my mind, even though I know I hadn't gotten pregnant in years, one, I believe in God. I believe in miracles. I was like, okay, maybe the right person hadn't come along yet, or, you know, I don't know. Of course, many thoughts go through my head, so it's just all kinds of craziness in there. But that was one of my thoughts. Like, oh, maybe the right person, maybe God's going to make it happen. But now it was the reality of, this is never going to happen again for me unless I get a surrogate, unless I still have eggs to retrieve, which I don't even know. Like, you guys, there's so much to think about. It's literally, if you are going through those same issues, anything similar to that, anything where you're bleeding abnormally, you're feeling pains that you're not supposed to feel, do not let them tell you, oh, it's just this, it's just that. Ask, how can I manage this? How can I manage? What can I do to make, and the one thing they always make it seem like, oh, it's just normal to cramp and bleed. It really is not normal to bleed more than those, what, 7-8 days that we have, you know, traditionally. That is not normal. There's nothing normal about that. Normal bleeding is not healthy. You are losing blood. You are losing strength. You are losing your freaking mind, okay? Trust me. I'm telling you guys these things to learn from my mistakes. Don't sit on those types of things. Also, get tested. That's another conversation for another time. I'm gonna do a video on that soon, but later on. But get tested regularly. Always. I don't care how much you think you trust your partner. I don't care if your partner is with you 23 hours out of the day. Get one, for your peace of mind. 2, do not be ashamed to ask your partner to get tested at all. If your partner or a potential partner is not okay with being tested or feels offended, then they don't need to be on that level. Because as a grown-up who wants to go put themselves in somebody else's bed and lay up with them, I definitely, and especially if you think you're gonna be doing stuff unprotected, why is it a problem to get tested? Why is it offensive? This day and age, no. Just make sure that stuff is taken care of. I've always been on top of those types of things. I just don't trust. I'm very, you guys, like, I treat my area like it's sacred to me, okay? I don't know if it's because of the way I was raised, but it's super sacred to me. Like, especially growing up and aging has made me realize, like, this is just exclusive, okay? Like, it's just, this is just, I just can't be giving it out freely like that. This is a gift that someone special is gonna have to earn. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would definitely say just make sure that you're on top of those things. If you notice after pregnancy, and I would say even after a miscarriage or a procedure, I would say still pay attention to those times, because your body goes through things and our bodies all react differently. Anything can happen. Anything is possible, you know, when you go through these things. So I would say if you just had a baby, if you're pregnant, please just, you guys, be so careful. Ask questions. Ask questions if you don't know if something doesn't feel right. Ask questions. Go on groups. There are women groups. On Facebook, there are mommy groups, all types of groups. And you could literally, there are groups you can go in, ask a question, no one will judge you. There are groups where you can go anonymously ask the questions and no one will judge you. This is something that I feel like we need to take more seriously, okay? My dog looks like he needs a cigarette right now after listening to all this stuff. He's like, I don't want to hear this. I'm a boy. Another piece of advice I will give you, diet and exercise. Definitely a very good way to prevent cancer. However, if it runs in your family, you're already pre-exposed to it. We all know genetics play a huge part in a lot of those diseases. So that's another reason to keep your eyes open. Make sure you're paying attention. If your blood starts looking a different color, if it starts getting heavier, if your pain starts feeling different, things like that. And what's really good, to be honest with you guys, what I started doing that kind of honestly really helped me, when I was with my ex, there's a thing on Apple, like on the health app, that you can put what days you had sex, when you had your period, and all that. You guys, that thing was awesome. I like tracked every single time my ex, before I went on my celibacy journey, and I would track every single time. So that was also another really good thing, because sometimes in your head you're like, oh wait, you know, I did it last week, but then you might, you know, you're thinking you may be pregnant or something. You want to know the exact dates. I would say legit, we pick up our phones anyways, you know, like 9 times out of 10 your phone's in your hand right after you done the D or whatever, you know. So I would track it every single time. And not only that, I didn't trust my ex either. So I was like, this day, this time, I wanted to make sure, you know. Also, that's another good thing too. Those apps of tracking your sexual activity, your cycle. It also reminds you to take your birth control. And also, if you have multiple partners, that's a really good way of keeping track. You guys, I can't tell you how many times I've watched Paternity Court. It's one of my favorite shows. Judge Lauren Lake, if you know who she is, comment down below. I love her so much. So that's why I watch the show. But it's actually pretty interesting. But I can't tell you how many times. Alrighty, I feel like I'm rambling a lot, but like I'm just trying to give you guys as much information as I can to get this message out the way that I wanted it to come out, you know, like to get the message across. I do have some notes here that I will let you guys know. So they will, this was my first time having surgery. So for me, this was really, it was scary, but I did trust them. You know, I did trust the doctors. That was their specialty. So I did trust them. And within, you know, my first time of talking to them, going there, I noticed that they were, you know, they specialized in cancer, and they also specialized in gynecology. So this was legit their field. So my hysterectomy had to be done at the cancer center at UCSD. I could not, just keep all this in mind, you guys, when I'm telling you this, because it's all the extra stuff I had to go through. Okay, if I didn't sit on this, I wouldn't have had to go to a different cancer place, a different doctor, different doctors here and there to get tested, and finally to find out what's wrong with me. Like, it was just a lot of extra going back and forth, going to these doctors, and the conversations are a lot more serious when you're going to a doctor at the cancer center. Things are different there. Every conversation is very serious. You have to pay attention. You got to ask questions. You got to know what the heck they're telling you. Leave there knowing that you understand everything. So the procedure was done in San Diego, and the facility was very nice, actually. I was supposed to stay the night. However, I guess when I got up, as soon as I woke up, they make you go to the bathroom, make sure you can go to the bathroom, and then, you know, they wait for you to heal, and they usually keep you overnight. Somehow they were like, you're a rock star, you can go home. So I actually went home the same day, which I was really happy for. All I could think about when my eyes opened, my brother and my daughter was at home waiting for me, and all I could think about was like, oh my gosh, I made it, I'm alive. Like, you guys, that was a scary thing for me, going under that anesthesia and not knowing that I will be fully under and not conscious and not in control. It was so scary for me. Like legit, the scariest moment of all this. Okay, let me get into it. So pretty much, I went to have my surgery. They put me in a pre-op, which was, you know, they're giving you all your fluids, they're giving you pills, they're, you know, doing all the questions, they're monitoring you, they have you on a machine, they're getting you ready, you know. And then while they're doing all these things, they have the doctors coming in and out. I had the doctors and the students who were going to be, you know, assisting the doctors. They came in and talked to me a little bit, you know, and asked me about my procedure, asked me about, you know, what's going on and blah, blah, blah. And then my doctor came in. He was like, okay, you know, we're going to do this, and my team's ready. So you guys, the scariest part of it for me was when they rolled me from my pre-op room to the actual operating room. I just felt like, it kind of felt like all eyes was on me. Maybe I was just being paranoid, but it just felt like it was a defining moment in my life. Like, my life is literally about to change. Like, they're gonna put me under, and when I open my eyes, I'm gonna wake up without a uterus. Like, this is crazy to me, you know? All kinds of stuff was going through my head. Like, what if I don't wake up? Like, what if this just goes crazy and something happens and I never see my daughter again or my brother? I was just playing, of course, my anxiety and my mental issues had me just racing thoughts in my head, thinking all kinds of crazy shit. So, legit, right when they wheeled me in, that last part, I was sitting outside just waiting of the operating room, and when they finally pushed me in, I'm laying down. They moved me from the stretcher to the actual bed where they put me on and where they're gonna perform the surgery. They strapped me down. Like, you guys, it was, the scariest thing was when as soon as I rolled in there and I saw it was about 12 people in the room. They're all, you know, suited up, ready to go. And I'm like, all these people are gonna be in here while they go inside my insides, and you know, so this is kind of, you know, it was kind of like a defining moment of like, okay, this is really happening. And legit, you guys, I'm not gonna lie, I know I'm a Marine, but I'm also human. I legit started crying because I just felt like it was just overwhelming. It was just like, oh, this is really happening. I just want this to be over with. It was just a lot of emotions going through my body. And of course, the main one was I will never be able to carry a child again. But it was also I'm ready to be healthy again as well. So they legit, I had there were people all on my side, but I had one doctor. She was standing right here, an Asian doctor. I will never forget. I wish I would have gotten her name, but I was too drugged up. And she was just rubbing me, and she's like, it's okay. She's like, it's gonna be okay. It's all right. You're in good hands. And like, I just remember her. She was so sweet. And so I remember my doctor coming in, and I remember them putting the mask over my face and telling me to count down from 10. I think I got to like 7 and I was out. So after that, they did, I'm not sure what, I know they have different ways to do a hysterectomy, but I'll show you guys the one I got on the screen. I have 5 cuts going across my stomach, so they did it to where it's not like fully cutting you open really. But I'm going to get into how that makes you feel in a little bit. So that's what they did. I was asleep the entire time. It took about 2 hours. One thing I can tell they did, I can tell they had my legs up in the air for a while, because ever since then my lower back has been killing me. I could tell that that position they had me in kind of like distance into my lower back, but that just makes sense. You know, I was in that position for a while. They had to get in there, get the job done. But when I woke up, they were wheeling me back into the pre-op room, and I was just legit, all I remember was counting down to like 7. And then I remember just waking up and I was like, you know, like felt like the first breath of air like I ever took. And like they were like, you know, what's going on? You made it, you're good, you're alive, you know. And so that's when the nurse was like, well, we have to monitor you and see how you do, and then we can see about you going home tomorrow. I was like, oh, I just want to go home right now. And so she was like, well, we want to go try to pee, you know. And she's like walking with me, you know, like I'm obviously still have some of the medication in my system, so like I walked okay, you know. She was right there in case I fell or anything to help me. I used the bathroom. She's like, that's pretty much the only issue we have is people not being able to use the bathroom after like pee after this, and you did great. Like that's all we need you to do. And so I was like, well, I feel fine. I did, because it was probably adrenaline of just like it being over, because I felt fine that day. But it really started kicking in the next day. But, so they actually let me go home that day. So legit, I was in and out. I feel like it was just, did the procedure, and then they waited like an hour for my meds to wear off or something like that. They gave me some Tylenol with codeine, I think, for the pain. For when I was leaving. I think when I was there they gave me morphine and something else that was super strong. But when I was leaving, they prescribed me the Tylenol with morphine, some oxycodone, something like that, and then I went home. But that's legit. That is where I really started to feel the physical effects of this surgery, you guys. Surgery is so hard on your body. So you guys, take care of yourself. I know I sound like an old lady. I sound like somebody's grandmother right now. But I'm telling you, okay? I did not want to have a hysterectomy at 38, 39 years old. I wanted to be able to keep my uterus as long as possible, but that was not an option because I did not take care of myself properly. So just let me be the test dummy, and you guys don't allow this to happen to you. But the notes I have here, I did write some things down that I did want to put in this video. One thing I will say, give yourself time to heal. I get bored too easily, and like I said, I'm very impulsive. And I lived in Cali at the time. I lived in San Diego. So like, there's always something to do in San Diego. The beach is right there. And legit, you have to give yourself time to heal. When I got home, I felt okay. But it wasn't until the next day, I think, when the adrenaline wore off and the like reality of everything wore off, that's when I realized, okay, I'm in pain. That's when I realized the cuts were a lot deeper than I thought they were. Like, they truly went in there, you guys. My insides were raw for weeks. And I can tell you that because, like, where I lived in California, the sink was super high and I'm short. And so, like, to brush my teeth, I would have to press my stomach against the sink sometimes. And I was trying not to do that when I got the surgery, but like months later, I was like, okay, I can do it. And I felt the pain still, and I felt that my inside, like the inside, the cut was still raw. Mind you, they're going inside of you to take out a major organ that it's pretty invasive surgery. So give yourself time to heal. It's going to take time. Everyone's body's different. Mine took a couple months actually for me to actually really feel like myself again. It took a couple months. Like I said, that surgery is very, very invasive, and it's really hard on your body. So give your body time to heal. I wanted to get up and go walk. They will tell you to walk out every day, like around your room and stuff, so you don't get blood clots from laying in the bed. That was fine with me because I wanted to get up and be out and about anyways. I just wanted to be doing stuff. I just did not want to be bedridden, but I had to be, so in order to heal properly. Of course, I think they said no sex for like 6 weeks, something like that. That for me wasn't an issue because at the time I was it just felt super raw on the inside, which in turn made it very uncomfortable for me. Sleeping was uncomfortable. Of course, I couldn't sleep on my stomach. I would sleep mostly on my side. If I roll over in the middle of the night, I would have to, like, I would end up on my stomach half the time, and then I'd have to fix myself. But it's going to take a long time to heal. A proper diet, proper rest, very, very important while you're healing. Also, driving. Oh, this is a good one, you guys. I could not drive or ride in the car for like, I think 2 months. I think it was like, it was really bad. Like, every bumps you didn't even know existed in the road you're gonna feel them. You're gonna feel everything. Like, my brother and I legit went from my old apartment to 7-Eleven, and legit it's like at the next light. It was so painful. So you guys don't think that you could just get up and live your normal life as soon as you have the surgery. You cannot. This is a serious surgery. It will have you down for a while, and you just have to be patient with yourself and your body while you're healing. Okay? Driving, you guys, I can't stress that enough. It was really hard to just ride in the passenger seat. Driving was extremely hard because, one, you have to stretch your foot out, which is going to stretch your ab muscles, and you can't strain it. So driving was out of the question. Riding was out of the question. When I realized that felt like my insides were shattering while I was riding, I was like, I can just stay home. So okay, no baths. That was another thing for me. That was kind of hard for me because I take a lot of baths. But of course, it's what I had to do. The first, I think, like 2 days, you come home from the hospital, you can't shower. Oh my gosh, you guys, that was, I hate that. I hate when I can't shower. But I know that it's what's best. You know, the cuts and everything, had to follow the rules. And right before the surgery, I didn't mention this, but they give you this antiseptic wash to wash your body with, to get like all the germs off your body. So like you bathe with that the night before and then the morning again, and like, you know, to like sterilize your body. So they also did give me that. No heavy lifting. That's pretty much common sense. Like, you don't want to. I can't remember what I picked up, but it was something like super lightweight, and it still was like heavy. I can't remember. I'll ask my brother. But no heavy lifting. Don't even attempt to groceries. I think it was groceries. Don't attempt. Don't push yourself harder than you need to. You are healing. Okay. One thing that I will say that was really good about my surgery, I did not bleed at all, you guys. I did not get any bleeding. I came home and I have not seen blood since then. That was the best part for me because, like I said, after everything I went through and my body had physically went through, it was such a relief. I was like, okay, I've read stories. Of course, I was reading other women experiences to see what they had been through, and a lot of people were saying, oh, they got residual blood afterwards. You know, that's pretty normal. I didn't get anything, you guys, and I count that as a blessing, because I really, it was like I wanted to be done with that issue as soon as my uterus came out, and I was happy about that. So for me personally, no bleeding whatsoever since the day they took it out. No spotting, nothing. Let's see here. I went over that. Oh, the last thing that I have on my list, you guys, because of the way that they prop your body up and the way that they go in there with this device, it moves around a lot of air inside of your body. You guys, that was the worst pain I've ever felt. Besides childbirth was that gas that went through. It was going through my entire body, my chest, my back. It was unbearable. It was so uncomfortable. Mix that with the fact that my insides are literally raw, and I just feel like... So yeah, you guys, I feel like I think I told you guys everything I wanted to tell you. If you have any questions, just let me know. I just wanted to let you guys know my journey and, you know, some of the things that I think personally played a part in where I ended up, you know, with their diagnosis. And to just tell the younger ladies out there, the women, even the women who are my age, your late 30s, you're in your 40s, you guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Be very, very careful. If you feel something you're not supposed to feel down there, check up on it. If you see something down there that doesn't look right, check up on it. If your bleeding changes, it's, you know, yes, a lot of things could be due to age. However, you guys, there's just too many of us women who let them tell us, oh, you have PCOS. Oh, you have this, you have adenomyosis, endometriosis, and they just expect us to go on. No, we need to be more educated on these things. We need to know how to, one, that unbearable pain that comes with all of these issues is enough to go make somebody go crazy. And they're like, oh, that's just normal. It is not normal for me to feel like I'm dying 24/7. And legit, you guys, I was feeling so bad. Especially before I had the cancer taken out of my body. I was feeling horrible. So, that's my story. That's my journey, you guys. As I said before, if you have any judging comments, keep it to yourself. I don't want to hear it. It's my journey. This is what I went through. and my mistakes that I have to live with for the rest of my life. I don't want to hear it. If there's anything else you guys would like to know about my journey, leave in a comment down below. You can also send me an email if it's more private or more personal. You can also always email me. My email address will be on the screen. And